I'm with, and it's life. And the point is enjoying who you share it with.
All right, guys, this is another episode of Field Tested with Brad Arington. Got two of my lifelong buddies here, two of my guys that work with me, the tip of the sword for the team here at Mossy Pond. Mr. Lee Howard, he is the manager for Mossy Pond Retrievers. He is over our whole retriever and our dog operation. He oversees over 300 dogs right now. Mr. Joel Porter, he is over the whole entire outfitter side. All your guides, your plantation managing, your field planning, your quail courses, duck holes, all the guides, all the behind the scenes stuff, the packaging of the birds. Both guys carry a huge role here at Mossy Pond. Lee started with me back in 03, training dogs, and Mr. Joel, I hooked up with Mr. Joel when we started running the hunt test circuit, and he's been with me for probably 15 years, but that's a quick introduction, and just wanted to thank y'all both for being here. Mr. Lee?
Absolutely. Glad to be here.
Yep.
And we've done a lot together and have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I was about to say, we could sit here and talk about dogs on and on and on and on. And I know I've been begging both of y'all to be on here, and super excited about talking. We probably have to break this down in about 4 or 5 episodes, but thank you for getting off the dog truck for a minute. At least you got an air conditioner.
Yeah, definitely cooler in here for sure.
And Mr. Joe, I know this is your cup of tea. You're really excited about this.
Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait. This is going to be fun.
But thank y'all so much. But on these podcasts and how we got started doing this was what I'm so passionate about right now is teaching. And it came from sports. It came from me looking into how to lead youth in baseball and football and our kids' camps out here, and how to teach these kids and how to inspire them and young people how to be leaders, how to be followers, how to learn how to be successful. And all three of us have been extremely blessed in our profession, in the outdoor industry. But here's the catch about all three of us. You know, my personality is very bold. It's very direct. Whether I'm training a pack of dogs, I'm a little bit more stern, a little bit more heavy-handed, if we would talk about in the dog world. And I guess that would relate exactly how I lead and steer the ship here at Mossy Pond, over 107 employees. But, I get a lot of questions asked a lot of time. Well, Brad, everybody doesn't have that same personality. And I said, how can I describe that? How can I get where we can talk with successful people in the same realm of life? And it just dawned on me. I mean, y'all two are absolute, my best friends, love y'all to death, but we're as night and day different, all three of us.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Without a doubt, all three of us are not even close to the same.
But all three of us, Mr. Joel, he ran a kennel in Cherryville, North Carolina, Crown Creek Kennels. Extremely successful dog business. He was an engineer at the fire department. Both categories, he was extremely decorated, high accolades, done a fantastic job of leading. And but your way that you lead over 38 guides out here, and my way are totally different.
Yeah, not even close. And at times, I hate to use the word clash, but at times it does clash a little bit on how we lead and how we approach stuff. But ultimately, in the end, it all works out. And to be honest, it pretty much complements each other to get things done and to achieve the end goal.
Well, I'm going to get to it later on why I think this works. There's a hidden secret, in my opinion. I want y'all's opinion on why it still works. Now, of course, all three of us want the elite standard. Now, that has to be a given. If you're wanting to achieve excellence and you're wanting to be elite, you're wanting to be in the 1 percentile, you have to know that you have to do things that other people won't do or don't do, the work ethic, etc. But how do you feel, Mr. Joel, how do you feel with your personality that you're able to get every ounce of potential out of those dogs you used to run against me? And with our two different personalities, you kicked my butt some weekends and I kicked yours.
Right.
And then at the fire department, to get the trust out of your men, when y'all went into a burning building and you knew they were there for you. And now, third thing that I know that you were an amazing at, and that you led, and you hold that excellent elite standard, is now Mossy Pond Guides. I mean, we got one of the heaviest volume duck guiding, quail guiding, pheasant guiding, hog guiding operations in the country, and you lead extremely well. My personality, being bold and stern and very direct, but yours being more conversational, building a team. Tell the listeners a little bit more about your philosophy and how you achieve that excellence.
So I think a lot of this really goes back, and I'm gonna relate this back to sports because we all played sports, and from an early age, playing t-ball, playing baseball, and how I was brought up and how I was coached and how I was taught was, lead by example. It was a softer approach of, be the example and be the person that you want your people to be. Show them that you'll do it. Show them that you'll work. Show them your work ethic. Have conversations, and give them the praise that they need to be there. But on the backside, when it does get to that point, then you got to have the tough conversations, and you got to be blunt. You got to be forward, and relate that back to growing up in sports, and then transition to the fire department. That was a whole different approach. It was teach, it was train, it was make sure everybody was competent, everybody was thorough and precise on their skills, because when those times approached and those incidents approached, there wasn't time to manage. You trusted people, you relied on people. My life was in your hands, your life was in my hands, so I expect you to know it. The guys expect me to know it, and there was a lot of trust. So I think a lot of my management stuff is a little bit more on trust and relying on people, just because 30 years in the service, that's how I was pretty much taught, how I lived. And that's definitely been an adjustment from the military type background of the fire department and that command structure to private industry.
Just I read something, and of course y'all know I study leadership pretty hard. To piggyback on how you said that you lead, leadership is not a license to do less. Leadership is a responsibility to do more. So exactly what you say, when you saddle up your dogs over there and you go run that quail hunt, and then the next morning you go out on duck hunt and you guide that duck hunt and you carry more decoys than anybody else. You're there an hour early prepping your boat, getting your dog, you brush him out to make sure he looks the best he can in front of the customers, and you go the extra mile. And Mr. Alan Garino, he wrote the Greatness Code, the formula behind unstoppable success. The very first sentence when I asked him what was the key as a leader, he told me to inspire. And I think that's exactly what you described. You have to inspire people to want to work beside you. And I think that's what you're great at, and that's what you do.
Well, and a little bit of it goes back to, in the fire service, we had a definition of management, and management by fire service standards is getting people to do things because they want to do things, not because you tell them to do things. So I think that falls back to something that was just ingrained in me for 30 years of that service, and a real impressionable time in my life. Maybe not when I was younger and the most student person there was,
That's a profound statement now. 20 years ago, I don't think it was a profound statement, because I think that's how people lived and that's what they did. I think we've gotten away from that. I think that's part of this podcast, part of Mossy Pond, part of 5 Tool is, yes, to raise leaders, but also to raise young men and women that simply do what they're supposed to do. That makes sense? Do right.
Right.
But
when a leader is doing something, don't just sit back and watch them do it. Go do it with them. Go help them.
Right.
Work to be that leader, but to be that leader, you've got to learn how to do those things. Does that make sense?
Right.
I think that's lost. Like I said, 20 years ago, I think that's how people lived. I think now, the generation that's coming up now, I think that's what we're trying to reinstill in those people is, don't do a job because you're told you got to go do it. Do a job because you should want to do your best at that job for yourself personally, not for your boss or for your buddy, but because you want to be the best person you can be and do the best that you can possibly do for yourself, not just for anybody else, but for yourself. Go do the best you can do.
Well, just like you said, you think that's the way it is. That's what's inspired me. That's why I like hard things, right? That's why I'm studying this leadership so hard right now. It's not a think that it's changed. We know it's changed. Yeah. And it's changed with our generation from our grandparents and our mother and father. But leading people right now, all the business owners and all the leaders that come through Mossy Pond, when you ask them what is the most difficult thing to do, it's leading people right now. So let's flip the script. If we're a follower, okay, we're a 22-year-old person, what do you think? And if you're a leader, how do you get these young people at 22 to just follow suit? Here's a prime example of what bothers me out here at Mossy Pond. You ride by a piece of trash out here. We got 3,000 acres. You ride by a piece of trash, stop and get off of the buggy or the truck or whatever and pick the piece of trash up. Integrity. Do the right thing when nobody's watching. So if that's what we're saying is becoming lost, how do you teach that? And what would you tell a 22-year-old how to do that and why to do? Why, if I was a 22-year-old, why should if I ride by a mud puddle and there's mud on one of our roads out here, why should I take a shovel and dig a little trench where it drains off to help our road system where it doesn't keep beating that pothole out? Why should I pick up that piece of trash? Why should I open the door for a lady why should I grab her bag? That's not my job. Why should I do that? What is the benefit to having this integrity? Riddle me that one.
All right. All right, so let's go. Let's take that to a biblical standpoint. Bible tells us the meek shall inherit the earth. Meek is not a coward. Meek means humility. Meek means doing the things that other people won't do, doing the hard things. That's what a meek person does. Jesus was considered meek, and he did the hardest thing in the world for us. He gave himself up, right? God gave his only son to die for us. Meek is doing the right things because it's the right thing to do. Meek is being humble, being a servant, being a leader, being compassionate, being all those things because it's what God has called us to do. To portray that, what I tell McCoy, 13 years old, I said, be the first one to do it. Mm-hmm. If you're not the first one to do it, be second. And whatever that leader is doing, follow him with everything you got, right? I think that's where we're losing it is if somebody's not first, they don't want to be second. They don't want to follow. They think everything should revolve around them as an individual instead of stepping up and getting their buddies back is the way I look at it.
That is such the misconception out there, I think, is being a follower does not mean you're
not at all.
Not as equal, and it doesn't mean you're weaker. And you see all the time that if a kid isn't the quarterback or the kid isn't the shortstop and batting first, he wants to transfer to a different travel ball team. And Jason Hayward and his dad came down here. We trained his dog. And his dad told me at 7 years old, he started teaching Jason Hayward how to play right field. Mm-hmm. I'll never forget it. Mm-hmm. And he said, I don't want you to learn another position out there. All I want you to do is be amazing and be able to help every team that you've played for to be the best you could be in right field. And he has made millions and millions of dollars being a right fielder.
The same right fielder that a lot of people would look down on because that's the weak arm, or that's the slow kid, or that's the bad bat, or that's the number 9 player. He is a leader. He's been very successful in right field. So followers can come from every different angle, every different direction, every different position.
Look at it from Joel, you were talking about your military style with the fire department. What happens if you go down? Who takes your spot?
Exactly.
Yeah. You know, there's always got to be somebody there.
Somebody there ready to step up and take over if necessary. And if you don't follow like you're supposed to, if that happens and you got to step up and lead it, you can't do it. You're not going to be successful.
Then you don't have somebody there to make those calls, and you've got, instead of one guy who's perished, you've got 4 guys.
Exactly.
So, you know, back to that fire service, in the fire service, every leader had an informal leader behind him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, whether it's the fire chief has an informal leader below him. That informal leader doesn't have a title. He doesn't have rank, but he has the respect of the people below him that if something happened and he made a call, those guys below him would, they'd take it to the heart and they'd step up. So I believe also back to it, I think every leader has to have an informal leader. And that informal leader comes in many different styles and different looks.
Well, that's what's been hard for me, you know, how I was raised and what I believed in was if your boss told you to do something, it didn't matter if climb to the top of this building and jump off of it. Brad did it. Your coach tells you something to do, yes, sir. I mean, it was yes, sir, no, sir, I don't know. Those are your only 3 answers. And, but what I've learned with some of this younger generation managing them is you have to show respect on both sides. And some things that I learned the hard way is some of the lowest ranked employees out here, I just wanted to tell them what to do. And if I told you that's the way it should be, well, I don't think you can manage and lead properly on a ball team or definitely not in a profession like what we have if you don't show that respect. Now, a drill sergeant 40 years ago said, I don't have the time or the effort or to do that. But something that y'all have taught me is go a little bit, take the extra mile, Brad, show that guy respect. You're out there showing him that you'll do it. He's inspired that you'll get out there and work. But inspire him because show him some love, show him some respect, tell him that he's just as important as the tip of the sword, the top of the food chain. And that's something that I challenge myself daily into, not just showing that the newest employee how to do it, but show him some love, communicate with him. And that's hard for me. I don't want to talk to him. I mean, I'm not being ugly. I mean, if we go break bread or watch a ball game, I'll talk. But if we're out here, hey, we're working, I tell you to do it, let's do it. I don't have time to explain it to you. And that's been a fault of mine. But what I've noticed to brighten their eyes up, ask them what it's just like going on a date with a lady. I mean, talk to them about what their likes and their dislikes and show them some respect, and they'll kill for you.
Yeah, there's got to be a balance, because the difference in our personalities is I do that stuff really well and do it a lot more, and I don't do the go do it because I said so.
Yeah. And we both get faulted on both sides, right?
Yeah, exactly. We both get faulted on both sides, taken advantage of on both sides, disrespected on both sides because of that.
I don't think it hurts to show your employees some compassion, to know this guy's wife's name's this, their kids are this, to have a little interaction and have some buy-in to their family and their world too, to show them that. I mean, let's relate this back to the dogs. I mean, I remember the three of us on the road, we'd run dogs all day long, and we'd go to supper, and we didn't want to talk about dogs because that was our life. But in all honesty, all those dogs we ran, none of them ever ran perfect for us. Don't matter how good they done. They could have won that day. They could have got their title that day, and we would have found a fault in them instead of stepping back and saying, hey, good job today. So I think there is some value in the getting to know, the compassion, the pat on the head, the good job.
All right, well, let me flip it on you right here. This is the way I looked at it. And one of my old mentors told me this: never give a bonus. You give a bonus, they're going to expect it, they're going to take advantage of you. Well, I'd invite an employee over to the house, and we would break bread together, hang out, get to know them. But what I noticed the next day at work, they wanted to cut up and talk about that deer hunt that we talked about at dinner. And it's almost like I lost a little bit of respect for them. And, I mean, they lost a little bit of respect for me, and they wouldn't work as hard. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute now. I'm not getting into this being their buddy if they won't work hard for me. I would love to love on them, go fishing, break bread with them, but them still work for me. And I got to a point, I'm better now, but I got to a point for probably 10 years. And Lee will tell you, if there was an employee out here, there was no communication, no relationship outside of just work with me. And they did respect me. But there is a balance. And on Lee's side, Lee would be their best friend. I mean, he knew everything about them. Lee, he preaches some, so he would know everything about them, witness to them and stuff. And I would sit there and I'd be like, Lee, man, that guy takes advantage of you in every. And Lee would flip it on me, joking. He said, "Well, he doesn't like you." And
Well, here's the thing.
How do you find the balance?
Here's what I think this podcast, our philosophy here at Mossy Pond, the philosophy with 5 Tool and working with the kids, is trying to fix that.
Yeah.
I think it's trying to fix that. How? And are we approaching it the right way? I think we are, because unfortunately it's got to start with those 7, 8, 9, 10-year-olds. I think teaching somebody that's 25 years old, I think we're going to struggle with it. So I think from the answer to that question, I think it's up to us to try to figure out a balance there. But for the younger generation that we're working on, I think we've got to teach that. When it's time to work, it's time to work.
Yeah.
When it's time to play, it's time to play.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to go back biblical. Then that's even in the Bible. There's a time for everything.
Yeah.
There's a time for everything, and I think that's what's got to be learned. There's a time to work. There's a time to play, and there's a whole bunch of lessons that need to be taught and learned from all of us. But the fact that what always frustrates me is the fact that I can be nice to you, and then you turn around and take advantage of me. That irritates me so bad, because that's how I would, if you would come up and did something for me, I promise you I'm going to turn around and do whatever I can for you.
Mm-hmm. Right. And that's my philosophy. I'm going to stay in front of that. They're not going to take advantage of me.
Yeah.
But they don't want to. I don't think I'm inspiring them like what Joel mentioned, where they want to. And so this was the I think the secret. It's about like that dog that we train. It is so similar. You stay on his butt all the time, yeah, he'll work for you. But to win a field trial, to win a big field trial, and to be a competitive dog, that dog has to want to work for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you can make him pass a hunt test. You can make him go out there and pick your ducks up. But to be an elite 1 percentile field trial champion, what we all dream of, the elite, he has to want to work for you. And it's just like managing people. So what does that mean? There's more than one way to skin a cat in managing, I think. And I'm up here or let's just put me down here. I'm down here managing it more the hardcore way. You guys are more up here managing it more the inspiration. I'm going to be their buddy, but I'm going to hold them accountable. I'm going to tell them where their faults were. But at the same time, what it is, it's reading people, reading dogs, knowing when they need it, when they don't need it. And there's a balance of the two. And it's almost like a juggling act or playing chess. And if you don't get that formula perfect, you're not going to be a great leader. If you do it my way, hardcore way, you're not going to inspire them, and they're not going to want to work for you. They're going to work for you because they got to work.
They got to work. They got to pay the bills. They got to feed the family.
That's so obvious with me and you, especially, Brad, because how many dogs did you hand me and say, Lee, he's doing it, but it just ain't good.
That's right.
Or vice versa, I hand you and said, Brad, he's doing it, but it ain't good. We swapped them out, and
we found the balance.
We found the balance and become amazing.
All right, perfect example. How many dogs did you ever see break on me? Hardly any. Mm-hmm. All right. Because I was that drill sergeant, by George, you're going to sit when I say sit. And, all right. But how many of my dogs would go out there on a triple or a quad and struggle on hunting? Mm-hmm. Well, a lot more. Well, with you, and me and you argued about this all the time. I was holding you accountable on your side. You were holding me accountable on my side. Lee, how in the world did Joe break? I've trained him for 5 years. He's never broke on me. He's broke on you 3 times. Well, yeah, Brad. Well, the SRS that I ran the other day, that we had 16 marks over the whole course of the thing. He had 10s on all of his marks. Mm-hmm. Well, he wanted to find those birds for you. He wanted to do a good job, but he would also break on you. Mm-hmm. So I think there is a balance of the two.
Oh, absolutely.
And you have to be able to read what makes that person tick and what makes the dog tick.
Yeah, so the crazy thing to me, 30 couple years in the dog world, starting in the dog world when I had no management skills and I had very little leadership skills. We're sitting here 30 years later and we're talking about the dogs teaching us leadership skills and management skills. You know, never in our life, thinking back to our 20s, would we ever thought a dog could teach us that. It's, you know, what could we do in our 20s? We could train a dog. We couldn't manage people. We couldn't manage a business. All we knew how to do was train a dog. Now here we are, and what did the dogs teach us? Business, taught us management, taught us leadership. I mean, it's just really crazy to think about way back then with the little black dog standing beside you and you calling its name and getting a $2 ribbon, what that really led to in our lives.
Joe, I preached at my church the other night, and the sermon title, what I titled my talk was "Be Like Ember, My Dog." And I went through, you said what they learned from us, but yeah, I've learned so much from these dogs. I mean, I can't explain, especially in the time frame that we're going to be sitting here talking. There's no explanation. I can't explain how much we've learned from these dogs about leading people, being a good person. All sorts of lessons that have been learned from these dogs that I think gives us an advantage and helps us when we are coaching kids, when we are leading people. I think there's a lot to be said about what we've learned from these dogs, relaying them to people. And that's touchy. I tell people all the time, you have to be careful when you start talking about what you're doing with a dog and then relating that to how you're raising your kids or coaching a team, because some people don't see it like us and they don't understand the connection between the dogs and all that stuff like that. But
it's identical. Yeah, it is.
People will get offended if you start talking about treating a kid like you treat a dog.
Well, what happens?
Also don't know how well we treat our dogs either.
Yeah. Well, what happens when you let the dog get away with murder? He takes advantage of you.
Oh,
right?
100%.
He takes advantage of you. What happens with an employee when you build that relationship and all you do is pat him on the head and love on him every day? He takes advantage.
He's going to take advantage of you.
You and then you stick the screws to the dog and you really hold him accountable and he has to do everything like a little robot.
He ain't going to want to do it.
He doesn't want to do it.
He's going to give you the bare minimum.
What does the employee out here that 10 years ago that, no, you're going to do it my way, he would do it, but it wasn't anything extra. He wasn't stopping and picking up that piece of trash.
He was doing it because you said to do it, and that was all you were going to get out of him.
All you were going to get out of him.
I mean, if you told him to dig a hole 3 foot wide, 3 foot deep, it was going to be 3 foot wide, 3 foot deep.
It was 36 inches, not 37.
No, it was the most precise hole you were going to get.
That's right.
But, you know, it's just amazing to me what I've learned from all that and growing up in that world and having to read myself. Read in a dog, not in a book.
Yeah. And
I've told people a lot, and there's a lot of people like this, but I've said a lot that when you're working with a Boykin Spaniel, the best way to train a Boykin Spaniel is to trick them into thinking it was their idea. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a lot of people that way too.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Back to the...
If you can trick them into thinking it was their idea, then they're going to give you everything they got.
Back to the management theory that I brought up from the fire department. If you trick them into thinking it's their idea, I mean, you're going to get a better product and result.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. And is that lowering our standard, or is that part of the I mean, and is that part of, we're not really tricking anybody, not a human.
No.
We're giving them compassion and letting them have a little leadway instead of micromanaging them so hard that they don't think they have any opinion.
Right.
And, that's what I struggle with right now, that I challenge myself daily on. It doesn't hurt to let somebody have an opinion. And as hard as I used to micromanage, I'm getting better at it daily. But I think it builds a stronger employee. Give them a little rope. Let them have a mistake, and then call them in and have a discussion about it, as opposed to eliminating all the mistakes. As far as on the ball field, y'all both know I'm the most vocal guy out there. Well, a guy told me one time that's a really good coach. He said, Brad, you won the ball game, and y'all did really well. But a lot of people would say you're overcoaching. You don't let them make mistakes. And it has brought a lot of success in all categories, dogs, business, sports. But at the same time, if you don't let them have an opinion on the first and third situation with one out, instead of you just calling it and telling them exactly what you're going to do, and you read the coach, you read the player, what they can do, what the guy at third can do, what the guy at first can do, what the batter can do. You've analyzed everything for them, and you've just told them exactly what to do, and you tell them, and you've took all the mistakes out of it for them. You did win the game. You won the inning. You helped them. But if you don't give them a little opinion, you don't give them a little opportunity to make a mistake.
I'm smiling. And
lose the inning every once in a while, and then come back. Look, I know I'm rambling, but let me say this part. But then on the flip side now, I can't get into being the bucket coach either. I can't get in. Right. I can't get into sitting on the bucket and letting them make mistake after mistake after mistake after mistake.
I'm laughing, and the reason I'm laughing and smiling because how long has it been since Mr. Hugh has been with us?
About 4 years ago.
4 years ago. How many years did he come? It was
7.
7 years, right? So 11 years ago, he came in and flipped our training philosophy.
Every bit of it.
Every bit of it, right? What did he tell us? What was the one thing that we did when we were teaching the dogs, especially our advanced, our competition dogs, when we were doing that fine tuning at the end, hitting that water just in the right spot or getting out just in the right spot? What was the one thing he taught us and that we started doing then and that we still do now? We let the dog make the mistake.
Mm-hmm. And before we helped them too much.
We helped them too much.
We didn't let them make a mistake.
Now, in the hunt test and when the opportunity was to rise to help them during the competitions and the SRSs and stuff like that, Mr. Hugh told us when it comes down to the nut cutting and you've got to win this thing, you do what you got to do, right?
That's right.
That's when you help out. So there's a balance between letting us make mistakes or letting them make mistakes and not letting them make mistakes too. But that's why I was laughing, because if we're all just figuring that out from a human standpoint, we've been doing it for 12 years with dogs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the analogy works with my baseball team. Mm-hmm. It works with my football team. It works with the dogs. So why, when I'm managing people, it works with all those. Why wouldn't I let that guy make a little bit of a mistake? Unless it's detrimental to the business and it's going to cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars, why wouldn't we let him make that mistake? Then coach him back up, teach him. And I'll repeat myself, I'm not going to be the bucket coach either. I'm not going to sit over here with my mouth shut and watch the world catch on fire. But we got to not micromanage so hard, Brad, that we let them make mistakes, let them have some opinions, and then go back over it, coach them up, and then what have we done? We have built a stronger athlete, we have built a stronger dog, and we've built a stronger employee.
Well, and speaking of mistakes, I think mistakes taught us a lot of lessons through the years.
That's the only way us three have learned.
I mean,
There was a lot of mistakes.
make an example out of force to the pile with a dog. We thought we might be able to do it in a day if we run 8 sessions. Well, you know what? The next dog, we figured out 8 sessions is not good in a day because that was a mistake. Mm-hmm. So mistakes taught us a lot. And I think mistakes are part of growing. Mistakes are part of employees becoming informal leaders. I think it's part of them growing. I relate this back to sports for you, Brad. You talk about overcoaching. Jones's team, you're going to overcoach it. You're not going to give him the opportunity to make mistakes. When Grayson's out there, you're going to pull back a little bit. You're going to give him the opportunity to think and do because
then we're going to talk about it after the game.
Right. And I think it's part of that growing period from an employee, a dog, a child, whatever, is they hit points where we don't allow mistakes to be made. And then they make it to a point where, all right, I'm going to give you the opportunity to make a little bit of mistakes, small mistakes, non-costly mistakes, until you get up to, I make a mistake, it cost us money. Mm-hmm. Now, those are my mistakes,
There we go. And that's what I try to prevent so hard, and I try to stay in front of. But, it's just like the good Lord. I mean, I think with maturity, with my faith and the closer walk I have with him, I see that, he definitely allows for mistakes. And, but as I mature, the conviction is stronger. So that's him telling me and correcting me in his way. But, I mean, look at the mistakes that I've made and we've made and people make, but as my walk's stronger, that's when I feel more conviction. So I feel like that's him coaching me up.
Oh, 100%. That's happened throughout the Bible. Look at the mistakes that King David, one of the greatest kings to ever live, right? A man that was said to be, that God said, a man after God's own heart, King David. Look at the mistakes he made. I mean, there was numerous times throughout his life that he made some big mistakes and did things way wrong that he shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
But they were all lessons, and they were all things that he learned from. And
that's how you grow.
Fortunately for us, they were all forgiven.
Right.
Like us three sitting here, those mistakes are forgiven by God. But those were all mistakes that were learned from to make him eventually
better
into the man and the king that he was and is known for today.
And you're growing that follower, you're growing that ball player, you're growing that puppy, you're growing that employee. Be the leader, steer him in the right direction, but be okay with him making some faults and mistakes here and there, and then coach him up the right way. And here's something else. When they do make mistakes, you can't belittle them and act like they're dumb. They haven't walked in our shoes.
Well, and I'm going to bring up something that you've worked hard with me, and I think about daily is when they do make mistakes, is not to hold that mistake against them.
No.
When that mistake happens and it's addressed and we talk about it and we get it figured out, that mistake's gone.
It holds no weight. I mean, it's just like what Lee said on the biblical side. I mean, God forgives us of our sins, and you gotta let it go. And the past is the past, and you can't dwell in the past. You can't dwell in the past in your faith. You can't dwell in the past in your profession. And I feel like that dog that cheats the water, that we get onto him, we hold that in our head and we hold it against him, and then we resent him when he's in the airing yard and we don't pet on him as much as the other dogs because he cheated today. You got to let it go.
Oh yeah.
And that was hard for me. And I mean, even down to the point of I've had employees steal from me. And y'all know I got a huge heart. And sometimes people take advantage of me because of my forgiveness. But I don't hold weight in a mistake. I mean, when it's done, and it's in the past, and you got to rock on. If you can't manage without emotion. And you can't train dogs. That's what Hugh Arthur taught me. You can't train dogs with emotion. If you train dogs with emotion on either side, you love them too much, or now you're upset with them too much. Either way, you're going to make mistakes. You can't coach a ball club with emotions. I don't care if he's your brother's boy or if he's a stranger down the road that doesn't walk and talk and act like you. You have to coach him without emotions. Their mistakes or that stud that comes out there that's so flashy and he's so amazing. But if he makes a mistake, there's no emotions. You still have to coach him. And no emotions with employees. After they make the mistake, you got to coach them up and rock on.
Yeah, and that's the mentality that I think only athletes really grasp and use, that play the next play mentality.
That's right.
I think that's something that is done well by athletes, especially successful athletes. But I think outside of the ball field, I don't think that mentality is taught like it should be.
Well, it's hard to understand. I mean, of course, we're talking more about the game of baseball, and it could be any athletics, but the game of baseball, of course, y'all know I think that's the greatest game ever invented. But, I mean, you fail more than you succeed. And if your mental game can't handle it and you can't move on to the next play, then it's going to absorb you. I mean, it's going to eat you up. And I think that applies in life and leadership. And
Yeah, I definitely do think the sports add a lot. But if you look back to it, I mean, you have 9-year-olds, you have 8-year-olds in your program. And those kids are getting coached, they're getting taught, they're being taught leadership at an early age. If you have 39-year-olds in your program, you know there's another 109-year-olds on the street.
Oh,
I shouldn't say on the street, but not involved in organized sports that they're not getting that.
And that's what they're hearing their opinions in society and at schools and stuff. And that's why I'm so driven by inspiring the youth and inspiring people on how to handle adversity and not play victim and not fall to, it's somebody else's fault. Somebody's out to get me. No, it's just life. Things are going to happen. You got to deal with them and move on and put it in the past and not dwell in the past. You know, everybody makes mistakes, but I could go back in our profession, Joel's profession, Lee, yours, go back and there were detrimental mistakes that we made that should have put us totally out of the dog hunting industry for good. But you know what? We persevered, we fought adversity, and we put it behind us and moved on.
Grew from it.
Definitely grew from it.
Definitely grew from it. But like Joel said, we've got to figure out a way to spread that message outside of athletics.
Yeah. It's such a great visual learning aspect, though. I mean, it's just like proven. Here it is.
Yeah.
Poof. Look.
Let's face it. Why is athletics still tied to the school system with the crunching funds nowadays and with money so tight? Why is athletics still tied to the public schools, to all this? It's because it teaches so much. Why do colleges put so much into it? Now, I know there's a lot of these universities. We take Alabama, we take Michigan, we take them. They do make a lot off of sports. But why do they, off of football, for example, but why do they still have the softball? Why do they have the lacrosse? Why do they have that? Because it teaches so much. and
life.
it develops people.
Yeah.
We don't realize it. You don't realize it with a 7 or 8 year old that you're teaching how to catch a fly ball. You're developing a human. You're developing an adult from an early age and teaching stuff that they're going to carry throughout life.
Oh, it's just like my youngest son yesterday. He got in a little bit of trouble with one of his best friends. They had a catching lesson, and there was a dirt ball drill that gets by you. Now, he was winning at the blocking drill, but the ball that gets by you, get up, run to the fence, slide on your knee, get the ball, and get it back to a home plate. We beat him 4 or 5 times, and it just tore him up that he got beat. And there was a life lesson from it. He showed emotion. He was mad with his friend. He was upset with his friend. But the life lesson that the little 7-year-old learned is exactly what's going to happen when you're climbing the corporate ladder, whether you're climbing Lee's dog trainers out here, the one that's scooping the poop, or the one that's running the field trial. Joel, the one that's loading the duck boat in the morning and watching the guides pull off with all their souped up gear on, or the guy that's guiding the hunt.
Right.
And, those are life lessons that they got beat out. But if you don't persevere, don't show emotions, and let that roll off your back like water on a duck's back, then it sticks with you, and then it just makes your next day bad too.
People use it as a crutch and as an excuse instead of the motivation.
That's right. But
I got beat.
yeah.
This is horrible.
Well, it wasn't my fault.
Yeah.
It wasn't my fault, Coach Lee.
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
My pads kept slipping.
Yeah, exactly.
My knee guards aren't as good as his.
The umpire didn't like me. The referee wasn't fair.
This, they use the excuses instead of the motivation, how it should be seen. You know what? My dad told me years ago when I started running dogs and started competing, if you're doing anything, if you're in any competition, there's an umpire or a judge, there's going to be bias one way or the other. There's going to be bad decisions. There's going to be bad calls. And my dad said, so I want you to think about that when you're running these competitions. It's going to happen. Are you going to let it eat you up and you get mad about it, poke your lips out about it? Or are you going to work a little extra harder, to try to, especially from a judging standpoint, where you don't give him anything to judge?
That's right.
That was what my dad said. Listen, don't give him anything to judge. If he does go against you, you shake his hand, you walk off, and you come back with the next one and do the absolute best you can do again. There's nothing you can do about it. It's not an excuse to throw up your hands or get mad or pout. It's a motivator to just absolutely do your best, no matter what's being said. That's where I think we're losing that, I said it again, I think we have lost that.
Well, everybody wants to play victim, and I don't know if it was in the past as much as it is now, but it seems like everybody wants to play victim, and everybody's entitled. And if you don't treat them like they're superior and they get their feelings hurt, and that's why our philosophies are so different. And I'm humble and willing to work more towards y'all's side, but do the right thing. What I used to ask, why does he just not do the right thing? Why does he just not do it?
Man, I used to ask that about dogs all the time. Why will he not just swim like he's supposed to?
Yeah, but
and here's the bad question. Here's the bad answer that we don't want to hear.
That's on us.
Because we didn't teach him to.
Because we didn't teach hard enough.
And that's where
you got to let them fail.
Yeah.
Then you coach them up, make them bigger, better for the next day. And then you got a better product, a better employee, a better ball player, a better dog to lead, and he respects you more. Move on to the next day.
in letting them fail, they've got to understand that you didn't let them fail or let things not go as good as it could because you're dropping the standard. It's because we've got to learn the lesson to get to the standard.
Well, and you talk about the fail part. I was thinking about this earlier when we were talking, especially about the dogs and all the years. I always learned more and took more from my fails than I ever did my wins.
Man, I tell you what, Miss Ellen would talk to me about it, and a week or two would go by, and she said, what was that dog that you won with? We'd be at supper or talking to somebody at church. What was that dog you won with a week or two ago? I can't remember. And, we were blessed. We have done really well, but I can't hardly remember the wins. I remember the first one, and I remember a select few. But I remember every step that dog's foot took on that last bird when I got beat.
Yeah.
And
well, what did Mr. U tell us? Every event you went to, you come home with one of two things, and you should come home with two. You should come home with two. You come home with a ribbon or a lesson.
That's right.
And he said the good ones come on with both.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, it's just like what I say to these parents and to these teams that we're coaching now. When you win, you could do everything wrong. You could have 20 errors, 40 strikeouts, do everything wrong, but win, and you take nothing home. You don't learn. You don't replay it in your head. You don't remember it. It's a win. I must have done good.
That's what you took home was the win.
That's right.
Yeah.
You lose, and you could have done everything perfect. You could have had everybody in position. You could have had everybody fundamentals were perfect, but you ran into a bigger, better team, and they beat you, and you overanalyze and think so hard about every pitch of that entire game. And that was the funny thing. I'd come home, get my butt kicked, and Monday morning I was back out there at 4:30 getting the dogs ready, getting them back out there. And by Wednesday or Thursday, Mr. Hughes said, Brad, they can't go anymore. They cannot do any more. And he said, this certain concept on this short retired that you're working on, you're training on it so hard. If they throw a long retired this weekend, you're going to get beat again. And they had this short retired 2 weekends ago, and you had one dog hit and you won the trial, but we didn't work on it that hard. It's a balance. Everything's a balance. But you definitely learn more from the losses. If you can take it in, look at all your imperfections in the wins and the losses, and have an 80% impact from those mistakes.
I think that was one of my proud moments of McCoy. It's probably a year ago. Had a great weekend playing baseball. He was. You look at the stat sheets. He was 7 for 10 or something like that, right? Well, talking to him after that, I'm excited. Hey, you went 7 for 10 this weekend. That was amazing, awesome job. That's unbelievable. And his comment to me was, "Yeah, but there were hits, but I didn't just barrel up a bunch of baseballs this weekend. It was still off." I say that as a proud moment because I don't want him to get down on himself, but at the same time, I want him to realize what he is and what he's doing, and that there's always, no matter how good you do, there's always room to get better.
There's always a lesson in there.
Always a lesson in there.
In that funny game of baseball, he could have barreled up 7
and went 0 for 10.
And went 0 for 10.
Exactly. But that's the kind of mentality we should all take as followers, leaders, no matter what. As good as things are going, we could have the greatest day dog training out here. But I can guarantee you, if we think back hard enough, there is something we could have done just a little better.
Oh, every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
Have no emotions. When you're on your highs, stay humble.
Yeah.
Some silly movie on TV the other day. Somebody said have a goldfish memory. I mean, if you win, forget it the next day. If you lose, forget it the next day. But hey, guys, tickled to death. Enjoyed having y'all on today. Like I told y'all, I think we could talk forever. I think now y'all are just rambling where y'all don't have to get back out there in the heat.
It is hot outside.
Yeah, I mean, there's some value in that.
Yeah, it's hot.
I want to ask you, give me this is putting you on the spot. This makes it tough. Give me a 2 minute, 5 minute quick story on one of your most memorable dog events, dog experience. Joel's been duck guiding his whole life. Lee, your dog events, or one of your biggest and best memories when it entails a dog or a duck hunt. Just for the listeners to.
That is on the spot. One of my favorite memories, not necessarily a great one, but one of my favorite ones was my first Master National in California. Walked up to the line with my first dog to run the 6th series, the last series we ran, and I'm standing there shaking, as nervous as I could possibly be. And the judge walks up there to the tent, to the holding line. He says, "Lee, nervous?" I said, "Yes, ma'am. I'm real nervous." She said, "Well," I said, "Can you tell it?" And she said, Yeah, you don't even have your whistle."
That's a good one.
That didn't help my nerves any, but she did. She goes, "We've got plenty of time. Calm down."
That's a good one.
That was a good. That was a memory. That's a memory.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Joe.
So I'm going to take us back to the early 2000s on this one. I had a dog at the time named Jack. Jack was with me a long time, very successful. But it's about the time the SRS was in its early stages where you could enter 4 dogs. They had to be at least a master hunter, blah, blah, blah. They had to meet the requirements to enter. They only took 120 dogs. Well, long story short, they had a SRS in Lewisburg, North Carolina. All of these were televised back then. Well, Jack didn't meet the minimum requirements. Anyways, I waited and I snuck him in. He got in, I paid the money. So we show up at the event. And the first series is they had a boat floating in the water. You had to remote set the dog in the boat, step out of the boat about 15 feet away, give an angled back cast to what would have been a all age level water blind, with a bulldog going out. Well, Jack gets in the boat. Dog after dog refused to get out of the boat. They give you 3 casts and then they disqualify you. Well, I gave the first cast to Jack. Jack jumps out of the boat. Well, I didn't. At that point, I hadn't seen enough dogs run the blind to do it, so we were on a wing and a prayer there. Long story short, we finished the blind. The way it was set up, you finished the blind, then they were going to throw the second series. You had to get in a boat with a dog. They were going to throw a quad for you. I'd only seen about 4 dogs pick that quad up when Jack run, and he was probably the 60th or 70th dog to run.
Cool.
And at the time, Justin Tackett come up, patted me on the back with a microphone. Now, I'm young and I've never been on TV, so I don't know what to say, and I'm nervous. I'm, tongue-tied. I'm just a country boy from North Carolina. And he said, "What you going to do?" I said, "I don't know. I ain't seen him enough to know." So I took Jack and I put him in that John boat, in the very bottom of the John boat, and I stuck his nose into the front seat where he couldn't see anything, because I knew the only way I could fail immediately was if he broke. So I wouldn't let him watch a single bird. But long story short, we ended up picking up the quad, made it to the semifinals in Lewisburg, and then on to the finals. But that was early in the day, and I was young, green, gung-ho.
It's about like stepping on their tail.
Yeah.
Brad, you're stepping on that. I said, "Hush." I know if I step on his tail, he can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I put his nose into that seat, and he couldn't see nothing. But I appreciate you having me. It's been fun to sit down and talk and have some serious talks with y'all about what we deal with and really hear y'all's opinion and stuff. And it's amazing to hear how all three of us are really, really close in what we think and how we go about stuff. Just use different words to explain it pretty much.
So much alike, but so different at the same time.
Absolutely. It's all about it. The differences don't matter as long as you're looking at the same standard and looking for the same results.
Yeah.
And maintaining that.
Well, guys, thank y'all so much. I enjoyed the stew out of it. Thank y'all. Listeners, I hope y'all enjoyed this. This was fun for us. Hope it was fun for y'all. And this is another episode of Field Tested with Brad Arington.